Devilman Crybaby gives us a concise version of Go Nagai's classic story. As a result, it doesn't dive too deep into many notable demons, but it introduces them nonetheless and somehow manages to give us a brilliant exposition of the world of Devilman within a pretty short time period. Of course, some demons get more screen time than others, such as the protagonist Akira Fudo's Amon and the likes of Serene, Woyuru, and Miko. We also get the famous and important demons who are well known among the fans of the series, such as Zenon and Psycho Jenny, who don't get much of a spotlight in Crybaby. And finally, we also have some minor demons who may or may not have been in this version of the story, but are eerily reminiscent of demons we already know. So, in today's video, let's discuss every single demon that we see in Devilman Crybaby, starting from the obvious to the maybe not so obvious. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Akira Fudo, Amon. At the start of the list, we have our titular Devilman, Akira Fudo, who is possessed by the valiant and powerful demon Amon. Despite Amon's cruel and savage nature, he ultimately lost the battle to take over Akira's consciousness due to Akira's pure-hearted nature, which overpowered Amon's will, allowing our protagonist to retain full control of not just his own body, but Amon's powers as well. Of course, this was quite controversial, as several other powerful demons, such as Zenon and Serene, would later go on to comment on how someone like Amon had been subdued by a mere human. Amon being the one to take over Akira was intentional, as Ryo had explicitly ordered Amon to do so during the Sabbath party, where Akira became a Devilman. The subsequent shift in Akira's physiology was highly noticeable, as he went from being a scrawny and weak teenager of an average height to a tall, built, physically powerful guy overnight. Akira was previously the slowest runner on his school's track team, but after he acquired Amon's powers, he immediately became the fastest, often running in an animalistic, almost quadrupedal style, but switching to a human-like bipedal form towards the end of the sprint to not come off as too suspicious. Having a demon like Amon within him also multiplied Akira's lustful desires and appetites for meat, quite possibly due to lust and gluttony being considered sinful in Christianity, which is the inspirational basis for Devilman Crybaby. Other than that, Amon's powers allowed Akira to not just become strong, it made him stronger than every other demon in the story. In fact, Akira even went toe-to-toe with Satan, albeit not for too long, thanks to Amon's strength. Throughout the first half of the story, Akira and Ryo would take on other demons and annihilate them, which was made easy due to the gap in strength between Amon and the other demons. Eventually, this made Akira more violent as an individual, as noted by the one time he went around clearing demons from Ryo's list without the latter's assistance. One of his abilities was to manifest Amon's physical form, which allowed Akira to manifest wings and acquire the appearance of the stereotypical horned head and dark-bodied demon with a tail. Basically, Akira could control the extent of his transformation from his more human-like form to what Amon supposedly looked like, and everything in between. To top that off, Akira also acquired certain pyrokinetic abilities, as seen during his fight against the aquatic demon Gelmer, when he used heat to evaporate the water and pull out the smaller demon within. As the story neared the climax, Akira had to fight Ryo, or rather Satan, which he obviously lost because Satan was just that much stronger, but Amon's strength allowed him to pull through for a brief period, and this was not a feat that any other demon could supposedly achieve. Amon's unbelievable strength was also a probable reason as to why Ryo needed that particular demon to possess Akira, as his goal was to have Akira alive as himself in a world where every other human had perished, and Ryo, though initially oblivious to his own true identity as Satan, subconsciously ensured a high survival rate for the only person he ever loved. Ultimately, both Akira and Amon's lives came to an end after being bisected by Satan during their climactic battle. Professor Fikira. The Russian scientist Fikira was the one who seemed to have started it all, as he discovered the existence of demonkind on Earth. Having learned about the ancient demons who used to inhabit Earth prior to being destroyed by God for mankind to flourish on the planet, Professor Fikira conducted his research on them deep in the rainforests of Peru. Eventually, he was possessed by a demon and, unlike Akira, didn't have the privilege of retaining his humanity. However, the professor struggled with trying to subdue the demon within. Eventually, Ryo, his fellow scientist, came to help him with his research. One of the things he found the professor doing was cutting open a bird in a quite menacing manner. At one point, Ryo witnessed Professor Fikira pouring gasoline all over himself and lighting himself on fire. As the professor burned to death, the demon within him was visibly seen struggling due to the fire, and eventually both demon and man passed away. In the original manga series, Professor Fikira's role belonged to Professor Asuka, who was Ryo's father. Psycho Jenny. Definitely one of the most important demons to exist alongside Amon, Psycho Jenny operates in Devilman Crybaby as Satan, or Ryo's aide and assistant. She had a much more prominent role in the original Devilman series compared to Crybaby, but even the latter makes Psycho Jenny's importance highly evident. As someone who was close to and highly necessary for Satan, Psycho Jenny was revered among the other demons as well. True to her name, the demon's powers revolved around psychic abilities. She could wipe out the memories of others and even restore them, which is exactly what she did with Rio, as she took away a child Rio's memories of himself being Satan and returned them when the time was right. Throughout it all, she kept an eye on Rio, first acting as his guardian and then eventually becoming his assistant while in a human form acquired by possessing a human host. In her demon form, Psycho Jenny boasted a head with an uncanny and psychotic-looking face, often imitated in media by showing the whites of the eyes all around the eyeball. The body was simply a large head encompassed by red hair in a manner similar to how a lion's mane works. From the mane, Jenny's human-like limbs jutted out, making the design stranger than it already was. Psycho Jenny retained the psychotic face when possessing a human host while having the body of a regular human female. The combination of the demon-like face on a human made her look like a person who had undergone way too many botched surgeries. As someone possessing psychic abilities, Psycho Jenny could also use telekinetic powers to fly or at least levitate. The most powerful weapon in her arsenal, however, was the ability to warp reality to affect humans to the point that the human experiencing it could be driven to suicide. Psycho Jenny was also incredibly loyal to Satan, acting as his aide even after Zenon and his army had betrayed him due to Rio's high affinity for the human Akira. Despite that, Jenny could not comprehend why Rio cared so much about a human being, as she detested all of humanity with no exceptions, which was expected from a demon. Ultimately, she fought on Satan's side in the climactic battle between demons and devilmen. The army she arrived with was shown only in silhouette, but it's highly likely that Lagudra and Imclugent were present among them, as the demons we saw in the show as part of Satan's army could levitate. Cyrene! A beautiful demon who was probably Amon's former lover, Cyrene too had taken over a human host and awaited the arrival of Amon in the human realm. Working in tandem with the demon Kame, she was involved in the search for Amon, which ended when Kame witnessed Nagasaki's footage, where he had a snippet of Akira turning into Amon to battle demons. Due to the passionate history shared by Cyrene and Amon, the arrival of her lover caused her to become ecstatic with passion, as seen when the news caused a lustful Cyrene to pleasure herself and switch to her demon form in the process. As a human, Cyrene was exceedingly beautiful with the ideal face and physique. She boasted long white hair with piercing blue eyes. True to her demonic nature, she was often seen in suggestive clothing. Once she switched to her demon form, Cyrene acquired an avian appearance with large wings with feathers, while her limbs were swapped out for talons or claws. The claws had the ability to cut anything into ribbons, be it an object or an opponent. Cyrene could also throw her claws to create boomerang-like attacks, which she controlled with her antenna. Her overarching personality was perverse, as she often resorted to hypersexual behaviors and language when talking about Amon, such as mentioning how she would suck Akira off to help Amon gain control over the human's body. She also reunites with Amon, kind of, while in the red light district, as a lustful Akira could not control his demonic urges anymore and found himself in the controversial location. There, he was greeted by Cyrene, who was desperate to get physically intimate with Amon once again. While that happened, Akira refused to state his other name to Cyrene, and she failed to achieve her objective of bringing Amon back. As Akira pleasured her, she grabbed him and switched to her avian form as she took Akira high up into the air. The two battled against the backdrop of the moon, where Cyrene commanded Amon to screw her. However, Akira, who had recently lost his parents to demons, gave her what she desired but violently instead of sexually, as he ripped off her right wing. Ultimately, a gravely injured Cyrene had to merge with her partner Kame to continue the battle. She launched her final attack with vigor, believing that she could emerge victorious. In this form, she even acquired the ability to shoot bolts of lightning using Kame's horns, but before she could land the final blow on Akira, she passed away, as both her and Kame kind of froze into stone. However, she retained her victorious stature until her final breath. Kame! As Cyrene's partner, Kame investigated Amon's re-emergence in the human world. Despite knowing that Cyrene only had eyes for Amon, Kame was deeply in love with her and left no stone unturned to tell her how beautiful she was. For him, her happiness and well-being was his first priority, even if it came at the cost of him never being able to have her. This was revolutionary in the sense that it broke the notion that demons have no emotions apart from sinful desires and a lust for violence, as Kame was quite evidently in love with Cyrene and willing to make sacrifices for her. In fact, he had control over his urges and bloodlust and looked down on demons who lacked self-control. Meanwhile, Cyrene never saw him as anything other than a partner, though she cared about him. The self-sacrificial Kame was more than okay with this treatment, as he believed that he wasn't worthy of someone as beautiful as Cyrene. Kame's human appearance was that of a formal, well-built man who often donned suits. Meanwhile, his demon form was that of a thick-skinned quadrupedal mammal, reminiscent of a rhino, as seen with his plate-like armor and two colossal horns on his shoulders that looked like they were made of stone. Like a rhino, Cain would charge into his opponent and impale them with his horns. These horns could also conduct electricity, which is the ability Serene used after he merged with Cain. What led to the two of them merging was Serene being gravely injured in the battle against Akira. Unwilling to see the death of the woman, or rather the demon he loved, Cain offered to merge bodies with her to launch their attack and take out Akira, while knowing full well that Serene's fatal condition would lead him to die with her too if they merged bodies. Yet, his goal was to see Serene in a victorious stance and give her the joy of feeling triumph, and for this he was willing to sacrifice himself. As the two demons merged their forms, the result was somewhat centaur-like, with Serene's upper body being attached to Cain's animal-like lower body. Together, they charged into battle with the intention of using Cain's horn to impale Akira, with the latter knowing full well that if the attack reached him, he would fail to survive the ordeal. However, the attack never did reach him, as both Cain and Serene passed away before they could take Akira down. Instead, the two were frozen solid into a statue, with Serene's face boasting a victorious glow as she was convinced of her own win against Akira. Eater, Nafiro, and Uruf. We see three minor demons in the second episode of Devilman Crybaby, namely Eater, Nafiro, and Uruf, who were killed by Akira. All three of them worked under Serene, and the sight of Akira turning into a demon to fight the three was caught on camera by Nagasaki, setting the events of the next few episodes into motion. Eater was a large humanoid demon with a red crest on his body, green fur, and a long horn on his head, and sharp claws that could tear through human flesh and bone. Nafiro had feline qualities, sharp teeth, a huge jaw, a long tail, and bat-like wings which allowed him to fly. And finally, Urop, like Eater, was humanoid. However, he had a lumpy body, blue skin, and a hunched back. His teeth were enlarged and jutted out, while his forehead had two small antennae. Editor of Bomb 9 Bomb magazine, Gelmer. Miki Makamura was the star of her school's track team, and as a result, she was popular and photographed by journalists. A particular magazine that often shot her was Bomb 9 Bomb. However, the editor of the magazine was a journalist whose agenda went beyond covering Miki the athlete. His true goal was to get suggestive pictures of her, using Miki as a gravure model, to the point that the editor shot down any other possible news, even the likes of Sabbath. When the photographer Nagasaki caught Akira turning into a mon on camera, he was convinced that the editor would eat it up as the news was sensational. Yet, Nagasaki was shot down because the editor didn't care about the Sabbath or demons or anything apart from getting suspicious pictures of Miki. The only reason why someone in the Devilman universe would not find news about demons existing remarkable was pretty simple. The editor himself was possessed by an aquatic demon named Gelmer. For him, his demonic lust was his top priority. With Nagasaki managing to invite Miki to his house, Gelmer caught the photographer off guard while in his car. The car suddenly began to flood with water, which was part of Gelmer's moveset, and the water went inside Nagasaki via the openings of his nose, leaving the body of his previous host and possessing the photographer. When Miki arrived at Nagasaki's place, she was drenched by the rain. Meanwhile, Gelmer used his see-through vision to peep through Miki's clothes, as the one lusting after Miki was not the editor himself, but Gelmer. He had also gotten a fellow demon, Agwell, at the scene of the crime, who possessed a human also. Miki needed to take a bath as she was drenched, and Agwell found Gelmer sniffing Miki's underwear, which she had left outside. Later, it was revealed that they were looking at a naked Miki bathing through a one-way glass and using the opportunity to click lewd photos of her. Once she figured out what was going on, Gelmer merged with the water in her bathtub and expanded the mass to the point of drowning Miki. Using this opportunity, he left Nagasaki's body and possessed Miki, following which he called Akira to Nagasaki's place, hoping to kill him. Either way, Akira had nearly reached Nagasaki's place with Ryo anyways in order to save Miki when a possessed Miki greeted him. She took off her bathrobe in front of Akira, standing naked in front of him, and tried to seduce him. Of course, this was all being done by Gelmer, who was controlling her. However, after Ryo shot Agwell dead, Gelmer made a run to escape while in Miki's body. Miki was already fast, and Gelmer's presence within her made her even faster. However, Akira outran Gelmer, with Amon possessing much better physical stats, and pinned Miki's body down. He then kissed her to suck out the water, or Gelmer's body, from inside her, following which he used his heat and fire abilities to cause Gelmer's body to dry up. This left Gelmer in a reduced state, and Akira tore him apart. Gelmer's photographer, Agwell. Agwell was a minor demon in character, appearing alongside Gelmer to photograph Miki in Nagasaki's bathtub. He also worked under Serene while the latter was alive. In his demon form, Agwell was like a gray, grotesque lump with a toothy mouth, blades for claws, and antennae. He was shot dead by Ryo when he tried to attack Akira from behind, while the latter was being seduced by a Gelmer-possessed Miki. Akira's father, Reijiro. Jinmen. The fourth episode of Devilman Crybaby was a hopeful one, as Akira was meant to reunite with his doctor parents who had been living in the US. The flight had landed in Japan, and his parents, Reijiro and Kaori, were on the airport bus on the way from the runway to the airport, where Akira and Ryo were waiting for them. As fate would have it, Reijiro had been possessed by a demon named Jinmen. Jinmen caused Reijiro to go on a killing spree while inside the bus, claiming the lives of everyone, barring his life. While Kaori was dumbfounded in fear, Reijiro, controlled by Jinmen, used his spiked tail to impale Kaori and lifted her high up into the air, taking her life once and for all. This also meant that after a point, Akira and Ryo sensed something was wrong, as the flight was not delayed, but Akira's parents were nowhere to be seen. They soon rushed to the warehouse where the demon was found. At first, Akira spotted his father, but the closer he got, the more things changed. Reijiro was in his demon form, resembling a large bipedal and long-armed turtle. Meanwhile, the turtle shell of the body sported the faces of Jinmen's victims like they were masks. The faces seemed to possess sentience, as they were all crying out to be saved, creating the illusion that they were alive. One of the faces belonged to Kaori. On seeing Akira, the face told her son that they were already dead and the only thing to do was to kill the demon. As Akira turned into a Devilman, Reijiro was shocked to see his own son possessed like him, but of course, Akira was different because he had control over his demon. His father too was different, as he was struggling to take control of his own body, much like Professor Fikara, instead of having his entire will subdued by the demon within. Instead of killing the demon, Akira tried to reason with his father to get him to win over the demon possessing him so that he too could become a Devilman. As Reijiro began to do so, Jinmen's tail worked on its own to decapitate Reijiro, as the demon was unwilling to lose control to a human being. It then tried to attack Ryo, but ultimately was taken out by a distraught Akira, who killed the demon by punching through its midsection. Miki Kuroda. Miki Kuroda, better known as Miko, was part of the school track team alongside Akira and Miki. Despite having been the fastest runner in the past, Miko soon began to lag behind Miki and went on to live in her shadow. This led to Miko growing jealous of Miki and eventually visiting the Sabbath party to gain demon-like abilities, all because she wanted to best her biggest rival. She also became the second known person to become a Devilman, as the spite and jealousy she felt towards Miki for simply being better and causing Miki Kuroda to be renamed Miko by the others allowed her to retain her humanity and subdue the unnamed demon that had possessed her. Originally, Miko had a slim figure with a large bust, but her body grew even curvier after her transformation into a Devilman. Her hair went from auburn to a slightly darker shade, which she began to tie up, while her softer eyebrows grew arched, giving her a more assertive look and personality. She also began to dress more suggestively. While she was kind-hearted as a human, she possessed a willingness to go above and beyond to upstage Miki, as seen with her allowing Nagasaki to take lewd photographs of her and then take advantage of her. This already controversial personality multiplied tenfold after Miko became a Devilman. She was arrogant and brash, determined to take down Miki no matter what. She would even humiliate other girls, allowed an old man to hold her at gunpoint to coerce her into having sex with her, and she killed him while doing the deed, after which she continued to partake in the act with his dead body. Her relationship with her grandmother was strained before she became a Devilman, but after, she even neglected her dead body, which was seen decomposing in the Kuroda household. Similar to Akira, the Devilman Miko also ran in the quadrupedal position. Of course, her new physical amp made her faster than Miki. When she assumed her complete demon form, Miko turned into a spider-like being, with her eyes splitting into four, mandibles forming around her mouth, and her hair standing up. Her chest extended spikes as well, with her back boasting a large thorax. For her limbs, she had four long and twisted legs, which she could use to hoist her upper body up like that of a spider. She often attacked using her legs and spikes. She could even jump high up and use her multiple legs to crawl across buildings. However, the incident with the track runner, Moyuru Koda, turning into a demon amidst a relay race led to Miko getting properly acquainted with him and the Devilman Akira. She eventually began to act more like her real self and even apologized to Miki to fix their relationship. Ultimately, when the truth about the existence of demons and Akira being a demon was revealed to the public, Miko tried to protect Miki, who was also being hunted down, as she was suspected of being a demon due to her speed on the track, even though she wasn't. In her demon form, she held off many people, but in the end, she shot herself in the head to deprive the twisted people the satisfaction of killing a demon. Moyuru Koda. Originally an underperformer in the track and field team of his high school, Kawa High, Moyuru was secretly having a homosexual romantic affair with the star runner of his team, Junichi. One day, the duo attended the Sabbath party, which led to Junichi's death and Moyuru getting possessed by a demon. He too was similar to Professor Fikira and Reijiro Furo in the sense that his demon did not have total control over his body, and he didn't have total control over his demon. The loss of his lover, however, left him distraught, and while he had begun to act more haughty in public after being being possessed, he would break down crying in secret. After the possession, Moyuru suddenly began to look different and became the star of his track team overnight, similar to what Akira went through. By the time he was introduced, he was already a famous young athlete with brand deals and sponsorships. But this meant that Ryo had put the pin on Moyuru's sudden shift being attributed to demonic possession, and he did wish to reveal the existence of demons to the public, so he took the inter-school Koshien track and field event as his opportunity, where he was an announcer. He curated a type of water, consuming which caused an uncontrollable transformation from human to demon when the recipient was bombarded with videos from the Sabbath party. It was first tested on Akira, who was tasked with giving Moyuru the water. However, the empathic Akira saw through Moyuru's facade of stoicism and knew that he had been suffering as a result of Junichi's death, so he chose not to make him drink that water. However, Ryo made Moyuru consume it on live television as part of a brand deal. During the race, when it was Moyuru's turn to run, he quite evidently assumed the quadrupedal running stance like Akira and Miko. Soon, Ryo displayed footage from the Sabbath party, which forced Moyuru to turn into a state of conversion in public. He assumed a fanged bovine form with the head of the animal being Moyuru's face and went on a killing spree, turning the event into a bloodbath. Ryo tasked Akira with killing him, but Akira was adamant on talking it out. In the end, he told Ryo that he eliminated the demon, but in reality, he had managed to contain Moyuru as it was simply much stronger. Appealing to his humanity and taking care of his safety allowed Moyuru to eventually become a Devilman, and he also got acquainted with Miko in due time. Eventually, Ryo revealed the entire ordeal with demons and Akira on national television, and demonkind was all set to win the war. Motivated by self-preservation, Moyuru betrayed humanity and sided with Zenon and, by extension, demonkind. This made him Akira's enemy, and in the final battle between the Devilmen and Satan, Akira killed Moyuru by ripping him in half. Taro. Miki's brother Taro always found demons interesting. He also had a slightly sinful streak to him despite his young age, as seen from him always going through Akira's internet history. With the issue of demonkind increasing, Taro was eventually possessed as well, after which he acquired dark markings around his eyes while the inside of his mouth turned yellow. Taro's mother realized that her son was possessed when he killed and ate a dog. She took him to the church to get the demon exorcised, especially with the Makimuras being devout Christians. However, he too was one of the people who, while not a devil man, retained part of their humanity, as seen from when he profusely apologized to his mother for eating the dog. All in all, the demon side of Taro had uncontrollable hunger. With his mother taking him away during the quarantine following the reveal of the existence of demons, his father desperately searched for them and found them in a tent. However, what he saw next was unimaginable, as Taro had assumed his demon form, in which he possessed a single eye, a large mouth, and a yellow body, and was seen swallowing his mother whole while a tear trickled down his eye. His father then tried to bring himself to shoot Taro, but before he could do so, a firing squad spotted them and shot all three of the Makimuras to death. Tako. Tako was the pet cat of the Makimura household, black in color with green eyes. However, like Akira and Taro, Tako too was possessed by a demon and became a devil cat. In this form, Tako acquired the ability to speak telepathically. His eyes and ears grew larger, and he also manifested bat-like wings which allowed him to fly, while his tail ended with a glowing orb. This orb could create a powerful flash that could disintegrate Taro's opponents. He was initially killed, or seemed to be so, when the crazed mob attacked the Makimura household to kill Miki. However, he was resurrected into this new form and helped gather Devilmen for Akira's battle against Satan. He also operated as Akira's aide amidst everything. Ultimately, he was slain by Satan's telepathic slash during the final battle. Zenon. Zenon used to be the Grand General in Satan's army of demons, with several demons also working directly underneath him. He used to be loyal to Satan, not to the same extent as Psycho Jenny, but loyal nonetheless, at least until he realized that Satan wished for the human Akira Fudo to live alongside them. This led to Zenon betraying Satan and burning down Ryo's house alongside the demons who possessed more loyalty towards him than Satan. In his human form, Zenon in Devilman Crybaby looked like a young Japanese male who had his hair covering half his face. In his demon form, he was a large beast with bat-like wings and 3 heads. The head on the right had a humanoid appearance with green hair. The head in the middle was beastly with 3 eyes and large horns, and the head to the left was that of a blonde human. Zenon had thick fur covering his body, while his chest boasted a large mouth with sharp teeth. However, this also led to Zenon boasting 2 other human forms, setting him apart from every other demon. In terms of strength, Zenon was one of the very few demons who could fight against and even overpower the Amon-infused Akira, as seen during their fight following the death of Miki's parents and brother. Akira was almost defeated, but Zenon was eventually stopped by Psycho Jenny, as she needed to keep Akira alive for the sake of Satan. Xenon had the ability of flight thanks to his wings, and he was cruel, violent, and war-minded. He valued only strength to the point that he saw Satan's affinity for Akira as a weakness, which led to him commanding the demons under him to kill Ryo before he fully awakened as Satan. However, he did care about his fellow demons, as seen by the time he wanted Akira dead for the sake of avenging Serene and Kame, who fell in battle following the fight against Akira. In a battle taking place later, Xenon was critically wounded by Akira and eventually succumbed to his injuries. Xenon's army, Xan and Rasper. Xenon was present with his army, and while we weren't exactly introduced to them, we can put down a guess or two. For starters, it would make sense for Xan to be there, who originally was one of Xenon's 100 demon generals and the leader of Xenon's demon army. Other members of the army who we witnessed are Serene and Jinmen, who we've already spoken about, and possibly Rasper, as he's spotted in the scene where Xenon and Akira fight following the deaths of Miki's parents. Rasper is an organic web-like demon with no specific form apart from being a tangible white web that constantly transformed. He could create physical bodies for himself an unlimited number of times and use spiders to possess humans. His web-like acidic body could tangle Rasper's prey, and then the demon could take flight in the air with its catch. Rasper often used possessed humans to fight on his behalf and escape danger, earning a reputation for being a coward. Devilman, Flying Elephant, 5 monks, lots of aerial demons. In the final battle, several Devilmen side with Akira to fight against Satan. They joined hands with one another thanks to Miki putting out a word on behalf of Akira on social media, which allowed the other Devilmen to know about Akira in the first place. We don't get to see much of them, but what we did see showed us several aerial Devilmen alongside a flying elephant and a special demon with 5 monks attached to one another who possessed a glowing aura around their conjoined form. Caliodor. Seen for a very brief period of time, Caliodor was a humongous Hydra-like demon who operated as Satan and Psycho Jenny's battle steed for the final battle taking place between Satan and his demon army versus Akira and his Devilman. The demon had 8 serpentine heads. Each head had a powerful snapping jaw and 6 eyes. This demon was capable of flight, as seen with Satan and Jenny sitting atop a floating Hydra. The demon also had a ball-shaped body and a long tail that coiled. Agira, Lamigdal. And finally, we end the list with Devilman Agira, who had a dragon-like form reminiscent of a traditional Chinese dragon thanks to its serpentine body and tendrils floating from its chin. The head of the dragon also resembled a crocodile. It was colossal in size, had a hairy tail, green skin, and sharp teeth. The demon used its jaws and talons for combat and, as a dragon, was capable of flight. Marvelous verdict! We do wish that we had gotten to see more of Xenon and Psycho Jenny and Crybaby, as they're some of the top dog demons, but don't get much screen time in Netflix's version of the story. And while it seems like we've covered quite a bit of the demons that we do get to see, there's always a chance that a bigger fan of the show will catch on to some Easter eggs and demons that we might have missed or overlooked. And that fan might be you, so let us know in the comments down below. With that, today's video comes to an end. Did you enjoy it? We want to hear all about your favorite Devilman demons in the comments down below, but until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.